Well, I got to say, I thought the road was pretty paved and clear, and snow was plowed off of it since we're in that season. And it was just right there. We were almost about to hit the gas. Light was going to turn green, and we were going to start wheeling into the territory of Alex Murdaugh's murder trial number two. However, after the initial hearing the other day, getting set up for that evidentiary hearing for later in the month, I don't know. I think maybe a roadblock or two along the way. Joining me to discuss, Eric Faddis, attorney. Eric, after seeing that hearing and them going through what the bar is going to be for Alex Murdaugh to get a new trial, what's your thoughts?
Well, to sort of follow up on that extended metaphor that you were using, weather forecasts can often be wrong, and sometimes there is a current that comes out of nowhere, and all of a sudden that is what is being focused on, and that's what's happening in the Alec Murdaugh case. He makes this motion for a new trial. He alleges the court clerk was engaged in jury tampering. At least for us law nerds, what a salacious allegation for this circuit court out there. And now, look, he's got a hearing on it, and it's really progressing along. So, are we going to see Alec Murdaugh trial number two?
Mhm.
Uh, there's certainly a path to that.
What is the bar here now that needs to be met for this trial to happen? Because the attorneys for Murdaugh had their definition of it, the prosecution has their definition of it, and then the judge said, "You know what? Here's my definition of it." Can you explain that to us a little bit more? What the bar is now that it's been set?
Oh, sure. Attorneys can say whatever they want in there, but especially in terms of what the law is, the judge's order is going to reign supreme.
Mhm.
So here, essentially, Alec Murdaugh would have to prove that there was some sort of juror misconduct that was facilitated by this jury tampering, allegedly. But not only that it happened, but that it had a substantial impact on the trial. Usually, it varies by jurisdiction, but usually, someone in Murdoch's position would have to prove that, but for the jury tampering, there would have been a different outcome. I'm not sure if the judge went so far as to say that, but essentially, substantial prejudice is going to have to be shown how this jury tampering divested Alec Murdaugh of a fair trial, and that is what his attorneys are going to argue on at this upcoming hearing.
How strong do you think the evidence is for that?
You know, my understanding, and we're going to hear at the hearing that everyone needs to stay tuned for that. But what my expectation is that they're going to have a juror come in there and say, "Hey, look, court clerk Becky Hill came up and told me." Don't be duped by Alec Murdaugh or something to that effect. Based on the fact that Alec Murdaugh was going to testify. If that juror gets up there and says that under oath, I think that is a big problem for the prosecution. I think that alone could be enough. And then when you add some sort of ancillary statements, Becky Hill, the court clerk, allegedly made to court staff, we're starting to get to the point where there might be a new trial in this thing.
Yeah, I mean that's interesting. The judge, I thought, also was pretty clear about all the speculation that we've been doing about the misconduct with her office, with the wiretapping and her son. That this is not Becky Hill is not on trial here. What we're talking about here is, did she tamper with a juror, and that is the issue at hand. Not all these other things. So those other things look pretty damn incriminating. It certainly does go to character. It's the same way Alec Murdaugh, I think, ended up getting convicted of murder was because of the financial crimes and these other things, if they were there. But again, it's not a jury, it's a judge. Judge that is aware of these things.
Yes. And, those things, although they are kind of peripheral to the
Yeah.
central issue of did this jury tampering occur, they might still get some traction at the hearing because at the hearing, court clerk Becky Hill's credibility is really central. You're
Yeah.
going to have this juror probably get up there and say, "Hey, Becky Hill told me not to be duped by Alec Murdaugh." Becky Hill's going to say, "No, no, I never said that."
Yeah.
And then that opens the door potentially to other information coming out regarding Becky Hill that is relevant to her credibility. And
Mhm.
so, could sort of these outside things play a role? It's at least possible. It's going to depend in part on how sort of tight a ship the judge wants to run.
We're dealing with human beings here and people that have emotions, have motives, have drives, have everything. And I'm playing the devil's advocate here, and I'm in no way insinuating that the juror who is making these allegations, who has made these allegations, uh, is doing it and for any reason other than to be honest and to be transparent. But again, we're dealing with humans here. If you're the lone juror in the Alex Murdaugh trial that ends up sinking the Alex Murdaugh trial because you came out and said, yeah, Becky Hill did influence me. Um, all you got to do is say that. You're going to have a book deal. You're going to be on everything. You're going to make a lot of money immediately after that. And I don't think there's really any law to stop you from doing that or reason why that would be. You did your service to your community, to our country, to be a juror. And if that is your truth and that's what you're going to say, you are welcome to say it. And I'm sure there's $1 million there for a book. All you got to do is go on the stand and say that and then make everyone's life a living hell who has to go in and have an Alex Murdaugh trial number two. I, I'm just thinking here. That's got to weigh a little bit on that person's decision.
Yeah, I mean, clever insight, Tony. And I haven't heard any other commentator bring that up. So it's quite interesting that there are, surely this juror's life is going to change after this. If
Yeah.
this person has to testify at this hearing, and especially if it leads to a second Alex Murdaugh trial, their life is going to change. Now, it could it be for the better, for with book deals and stuff like that, potentially, and could that be influencing in some possible way this juror? It's at least something
Yeah.
to think about. We don't know.
I mean,
Um,
yeah.
but but yeah, I mean, his the juror's life could also change for the worse. You could have a bunch of people think Alec Murdaugh did it, and if you're responsible in a way for undoing that, what's fresh hell awaits you from the public. I just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing. I guess it kind of almost depends where that individual's life is at this moment in time. Obviously, you just want honesty. If it did affect it, say it and be honest. Don't say it because, oh, I did say that. Maybe it kind of influenced me, but it happened and it happened. And now it's like, oh, but if I really play this up, essentially, there's a lot of incentive there. I could see, especially if you're like, I could use a change of scenery. You want to get out of out of the South Carolina Low Country and start a new life and get a bunch of money really quick. This could be like a ticket to do it. Again, I know nothing about this juror. I'm not trying to insinuate that they would do that. That would probably also be insanely improper, if not illegal, to be lying under oath, without a doubt. But if that is a version of what happened, or it is what happened, you got to think there's a little incentive there to make a big deal if you're the one that's going to be the big factor of getting Murdaugh a new trial.
Yeah, I mean, so many things about that person's life is going to change, and I'm sure they have so many decisions that they're presently weighing. Now, like I said, I have no evidence at all that
Yeah,
there was
yeah,
any sort of motive or anything like
no,
that. But yeah, if that person gets up there and testifies, and one thing we need to keep in mind too is they didn't ask to be in this situation.
no.
That they were required by the state to come and sit on this jury. Now their life has changed forever as a result of it, and it'll be interesting to see sort of what direction that goes after this hearing.
It would be tempting, at the very least, if I was in those shoes, and that happened, to not go down that road. It's going to be, I guess, a real question of reality and character, and everyone's going to judge that. And the only person who truly knows is that individual. So whatever is said, it's got to be, am I cool with saying this? Can I live with saying this and doing this? And that's ultimately a question for that person, because ultimately they're not going to win either way. They're going to be having one group or the other going, ah, and yeah. Hey, it's Tony Brueski. If you like the podcast, be sure to like, subscribe, and press that bell so you don't miss any of our updates on the cases we're following for you right here at the Hidden Killers podcast from True Crime Today. And thanks